everybody else's hands, this is a microphone. In my hands, it's a pipe
Too much can be done on this mic that I ain't doing ready.
Pipe bombs. Pipe bombs.
Before I go over prices, I want to talk about Mirrodin. I mean, not Mirrodin, but whatever. I want to talk about Avacyn Restored. So I was looking for some spoilers and stuff, and I noticed that this is a abnormally large set. It's 244 cards, which is only 30 less than Innistrad. Only 10. It's 10 more than Scars of Mirrodin. Blah blah blah. But then I read this, and I was like, wait a second. They wouldn't do that, right? Wait, what? What does that say? No double face cards and no flashback. So, two of the things that were talked about or focused on the most in this set won't be in the third set? What the fuck? It's also going to be a standalone set that's drafted by itself. So, I mean, now when it comes down to it, as we've learned from the Zendikar, that World Wake brought us a few cards. Nothing really that special. Abyssal Persecutor, but why do that? Why get rid of... Also, they're going to have this really stupid thing at the pre-release called, like, a Hell Vault thing. I don't know. Some stupid-ass shit. But, I mean, this set has... I mean, only 76 less cards than Mirrodin, Besieged, and New Phyrexia combined. I mean... But they're essentially saying that New Phyrexia is a set where you're going to get 4 or 5 cards that are worth something. Like Jace was in this set. I think the Stoneforge was in. They're basically saying that New Phyrexia is it, and Innistrad is going to be garbage. And, you know, there's only going to be a few cards from Innistrad. But also, just one quick thing, the uncommons from World... You know, from the middle set of the Zendikar are not worth anything. So they're basically saying that I don't know what they're doing. I have absolutely no clue. So let's go over prices. Okay, we start off with the Planeswalkers and Liliana, which has gone up. I think that card is going to continue going up since Innistrad might be considered useless after Avacyn Restored, which is going to be draft alone. Garruk Relentless is up slightly, but it continues its downward spike. $16 seems to be the base price for Garruk. Koth is up slightly. I think there's a resurgence of red deck wins, and Hellrider is a card that's doing it. And Koth is definitely a card that could fit into that type of deck. Elspeth is up slightly, but once again, it's really not a card that's getting much play. Token decks don't need it. Sorin's a much better card if you're playing tokens. Venser is up a nice chunk, but Venser decks are getting casual play. They're not getting competitive play. It's still for a casual deck. If you do want to play, it's rather inexpensive. It's still below 10. Garruk is down slightly. I don't know why you wouldn't buy Garruk. Seems like a fine card to put in any white deck. I'm sorry, Gideon. My bad. Gideon. That's Garruk Primal Hunter is up, and you know why? That's because if you've looked lately, Delver looks like it's dead. I mean, can someone get a fucking IV for Delver? Because it looks dead right now. Primal Hunter's up. All cards involving Ramp Run are going to be through the roof. Jace Memory Adept is up a lot. A ton. I thought it was just going to continue to drop because it sucks. But Jace is up a nice chunk at now $10, where it was dropping from a large amount. Sorin is useless. Chandra is dropping. It's useless M12 mythic planeswalker. If you get them, you sell them. Hopefully you get 6 tickets. Tezzeret is up because the Tezzeret decks are getting tier 2 constructed play with Gravedigger's Cage and Ratchet Bomb and, you know, whatnot. Karn is up. It's used in blue-black control, and it's being used in ramp. So Karn is definitely a nice card. And Sorin's continuing its rise up. I'm going to use this moment to talk about all the Mirrodin Besieged important cards. And not Mirrodin Besieged, I'm sorry, Dark Ascension. Dark Ascension is going to be the most underdrafted set ever if Alara Reborn is drafted by itself. It means there's going to be a lot of Innistrad out there. There's going to be a lot of Avacyn restored. Why don't you correct me on that? God damn it. Mirrodin Besiege is going to be so underdrafted that the good cards from Mirrodin Besiege are going to be worth so much that if you don't buy the correct cards now, over the court when they stop doing the triple Dark Ascension drafts, which end today, tomorrow, I'm sorry. Well, today is the last day you can do it, but they end tomorrow. The cards are just going to keep going straight up. That includes Sorin, Huntmaster, all the mythics, because it's just going to be such an underdrafted set that the cards are going to see the same type of gain in value that the Mirrodin Besieged cards got. You guys all know the value of Thrun, and the value of Sword in Feast of Famine. So let's go on to the next grouping, but make sure you get in your Dark Ascension now, while you have the chance, while it's still, technically, this is cheap. So, let's move on. Also, there will be times where instead of Avacyn, I'll say Alara, but you know what I mean. I just sometimes mess those two up. I apologize, I have to do it like this, but on to the biggest movers of the release period, and hey, Scott Levine, ha! Sorry. He said that Sword of War and Peace would go down. Well, as you can see, not only has it gone up a massive shitload, but as of this recording, because I did these numbers yesterday, it's up another $3. Which sucks. Personally, if you have to get if cards cost $50, it's just too much. It's an online card. It's supposed to be about fun. Sword of Feast and Famine and Sword of Body and Mind, I believe, are moving intertwined with Sword of War and Peace. Because for people who can't afford War and Peace, you buy Feast of Famine. If you can't afford Feast or Famine, you buy Body and Mind. So, Body and Mind isn't bad, though. You're going to run up against a lot of green and a lot of blue. So, for the player who doesn't want to go out and spend money, it's not... If you want to make a Dungrove deck, Body and Mind isn't your worst possible pick. And Batterskull is up because, of that deck made by those people who I refuse to name at the moment. But, Batterskull is going to continue to go up until the next viewing, whether it's Star City Games or a PTQ online. They'll just continue to move up until people figure out that blue-black control just doesn't work. It's getting out-aggroed by Huntmaster decks. Here we've got the Titans. I finally added Primeval Titan, but to be honest, there's no reason to. As of this recording, it's down to $17.99, but ramp, it basically changes every day. Every day it's going to switch between what deck is going to be better. Ramp with Primeval Titan instead of Huntmaster, or ramp with Huntmaster instead of Primeval Titan. It's that simple. Sun Titan's down, Frost Titan's down, Inferno Titan's down because I think people have made the choice between, they've taken out their Inferno Titans in favor of Huntmaster. Grave Titan's up because of the zombie decks you've been seeing, although they don't play Grave Titan. It's more of the, UB control kind of deal. Wormcoil Engine, I told you to buy this at 10. Sigh. Well, you didn't buy it at 10. Now it's close to 15. So, it's going to continue to go up. It's used in... What makes it so good is as an artifact. It's used in a multitude of decks. I could see it hitting 20, since, who do you know has SOM packs or drafts SOM? So, that's Wormcoil. On to the next. Here we have the lands, the most important, and as you can see, any lands associated with ramp are up, and anything associated with Delver is down, because I am saying right now that Delver is dead, thanks to Corrosive Gale, with Flare and Slagstorm being main deck. But right now, Delver is screwed. Blackleaf Cliffs is up. That's a card I like for my little pet deck I've been working on, my Vampire deck. I kind of like it a lot. You got Copperline Gorge, ramp card, it's up. Dark Slick Shores, that's blue-black control, is up. Or zombies, so anything with blue-black control, zombies, or ramp are going to be up. Or humans, I'm sorry. But humans are sometimes not even running the blue for the Mana Leak or the Moorland Haunt. So you got to look at it like that. You can kind of run the humans deck without Seachrome Coast. Igmoth Nexus is with ramp, that's why it's up, even though I suggest you use this time as ramp is popular to sell it. Since Infect isn't a win condition, I just don't see it going anywhere. All the Innistrad lands are pretty stable, except Woodland Cemetery, which is my favorite, the black-green. That's going up, and that's going to continue to go up. I think that's the best of the dual lands, because those colors are very, very strong in Dark Ascension, and I think people grab a hold of that. And maybe, instead of going white-black, they go black-green. When they want to splash in for Garrick or something for block. While Sulphur Falls, which was the most expensive Innistrad land for a very long time, is dropping. Modern players would know more about that than I would. As you can see, Kessig Wolf runs up, Townships up, blah blah blah. Vaulted the Archangel, okay, it's a $1.25 card or whatever. It's pretty good. I don't know how good, to be honest. I've seen it played, and yeah, it's good when you're playing, when you have it, but I don't know how good of a card it is overall. And Grim Backwoods, I thought was a great card. No one agrees with me. It's gonna be a 5-cent card. But then again, if you look at Nephalia Drownyard, which I told you to buy at 5 cents, it's now a place that would have cost you a quarter. Now it costs you a ticket. Who knows? Grim Backwoods, people may figure out that drawing cards in green is a good thing. But who knows? Our first set of mythics. As you can see, the cards that are associated with humans are going up. And you'll also see that the ISD mythics are up and the SOM mythics are up. The SOM mythics and ISD mythics are up for two completely separate reasons. ISD mythics are up because, well, wait, first let me talk about the SOM. SOM mythics are up. People are buying ones of to redeem the set. That usually happens as they start to cycle out. People buy them in cycles, so they start with SOM, then MBS, then MPH. But MPH is getting a ton of play right now, so I can't tell you if that's about cards just going up for the sake of going up, or people going up because they're redeeming them. But Skithrix, you know, people, it has a lot of value if you sell it as a whole. Uh, and Mox Opal may be valuable as a, um, you know, as a modern card. I don't know. I don't play modern. ISD mythics are up because ISD in paper is more valuable than it is online. Like online, an entire set could cost you 110 tickets, uh, which you could then redeem. And then paper, you got Snapcaster at 30, Loli at 30, Garrick at 20. That's you know, just Garrick and Snappy alone. I mean, that's $60 right there. The dual lands are each like at least a minimum of between 5 and 10. So you make more money in paper with the set than you would in than you would online. And you know, Dark Ascension is one of the most drafted sets online, I think, ever. So the mythic rares are out there, and they're very, very inexpensive. While you can get, you know, while you can use them in paper and get a lot out of it. Consecrated Sphinx isn't moving, which I find rather odd. But if people weren't buying the SOM for Redemption, Lux Cannon wouldn't be up, Skithers wouldn't be up, Blightsteel Colossus wouldn't be up. I know people are trying the Counter Lash deck with Blightsteel Colossus. That deck does not work. Last card's Glissa, but that's a ramp deck card, you know. That card goes in a lot of ramp decks. That also might be the reason why Woodland Cemetery is also going up. The last grouping of mythics, and this is kind of important, so let me just get a couple of the quick ones out of the way. Obliterator, I always liked that card. Now it's just over the top expensive. It's worth more money than Primeval Titan. What would you rather have? For Phyrexian Obliterators or 4 Primeval Titans? Elish Norn is down, surprisingly. It's one of the best cards out there, but Thrun is Thrun. Massacre Worms being used in mill decks. Hero of Oxid Ridge is down because it's a resurgence of red deck wins, and people are using Hellrider, though, instead of Hero of Oxid Ridge. Although I think you can probably use both. And then you have Hero Bladehold, which is a staple in the human decks. Now here you have the Dark Ascension mythics, and this is a very small set that's going to be really underdrafted, and the mythics are going to become very valuable, but only a few of them. Like, Beguiler of Wolves isn't going to be the most valuable card ever made. I mean, it's in the wrong color, essentially. Because it's 5 mana and it's blue, and chances are you're not going to have enough creatures in a control deck to where you're going to do anything other than gain control of their Spellskite, you know? Let's see. Drugskull Reaver is made for commander decks and is a complete pile of crap. Falconwrath Aristocrat is actually a favorite card of mine. I'm using it in my current vampire deck, which still needs some work. I gotta figure out the 3-drop slot in the vampire decks. And the 2-drop slot also. It's kind of difficult. The zombies are a lot better than the vampires, so. Having Gold Lich is valuable because not only is it a great card in the sense that you can use its ability to cast any creature from any graveyard and keep it under your control and use its ability, it's also in the infinite Priest of Uberax, whatever, Heartless Summoning, whatever deck. Huntmaster of the Fells, I'll talk about that later. Mikaeus is crap. Vorapede is the next Thrun, if not better. I mean, while it doesn't have hexproof, it does have Undying, which means you need to kill it twice. And any kind of deck that has removal doesn't want to remove a creature twice. It's only really scared of O-Ring, which isn't getting you know, if Elish Norn, if people are gonna play Whip Flare, it's resistant to Whip Flare, Slag Storm. It can only be really beaten by whatever cards are being played at the moment. Mostly the Titans, which may or may not be reprinted in M13. Nobody knows. Now, Huntmaster of the Fell is a really interesting card. It's the last mythic, or one of two ever, that they're going to make mythic flip cards. And people are taking Primeval Titans out of their decks and putting Huntmaster in. So, it's becoming a really big-time card, and I think when you look at the Zendikar block, where the third set had so many, and this set is so small, well, it's going to be underdrafted, and Huntmaster is going to be a card for years. Here are the rares. Nothing really of note. Champion of the Parish is up. I mean, it basically just look at the rares. You'll notice that other than the SOM rares going up slightly, white, the ones that are played in white decks are up. I like Champion of the Parish. Heartless Summoning, oddly enough, is down. The red deck wins cards are going up, though. I like the new idea of the red deck wins deck with Hellrider. And no Planeswalkers, essentially. You could run Koth, but you don't have to. You just get out as many creatures and then boom, 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 boom. Lord of the Unreal is going down. Image is going down because people are figuring out that Metamorph is better than Image. It's less vulnerable, can be splashed into any deck, and will cycle out later than Image, which is why Lord of the Unreal is down. I don't see anything else. Honor of the Pure is up massive amounts. I remember when people laughed at me when I said that it was a card to invest in because it was 10 cents. And now $1.70 is pretty hefty. Grand Abolisher, I think, is going to go down because I think Thalia will take its place. It doesn't have the double white mana cost, which can sometimes be hindering if you want to play a multicolored deck. Double whites and double anything for a 2-drop is usually difficult, unless it's Strangleroot Geist. Let's see, Solemn is down. I think Huntmaster has taken the place of Solemn in a lot of decks. Lavamancer's down, but Spike Shot Elder is up a lot. I'm guessing that the red deck wins Hell Rider decks are going to have a lot of goblins in them. I don't know about that. I'm not the world's biggest expert on those kind of decks, although I am in the middle of building one. Curse of Death's Hold is up because of the group that shall not be named. They used it in their... Yeah, it's just a great black control card. I mean, it's a card you can run in any black deck. You don't need to be a control deck to run a Curse of Death's Hold. I mean, it just makes their creatures die. It's also a reason why, with all the main decking, that, Delver's dead right now. Although no one wants to admit that but me. Geist Honored Monk is up, I think, like 100%. No, but nothing else of note, really. Tempered Steel down. Tempered Steel is dead, though. And then finally, we got Black Sun Zenith, which is up, of course. Phyrexian Crusader is an interesting card. A lot of the zombie decks you've been seeing running around are using Crusader as a sideboard card against humans, or if they're playing red, you know, whatever they have that's red, has a built-in, basically, Sword of War and Peace. So that's always interesting. Slagstorm is down, but I don't know why, to be honest. Blade Splicer, I like that card. I think that Blade Splicer is a little underrated at the moment. Hex Parasite, no one cares about. Lash Wraith is interesting. Since there are mono-black zombie decks that don't run the blue splash, I think it's interesting that Lash Wraith is down, but, you know, I guess if you're not going to run swords, they're going to use their Ancient Grudges on something. Surgical, let's see, Metamorph is up a ton because Phantasmal Image is not as good as Phyrexian Metamorph. Not to mention, Metamorph does have the ability to become any artifact as well as any creature on the board. Spellskite hasn't moved, I don't know. Surgical Extraction, I remember after the pre-release, I bought these for 2 tickets a piece. I thought it was the coolest card ever, and I wanted to main deck it. But every time I main decked it, people laughed at me. Now it's like $10 because everyone has it in their sideboard. Torbor Orb and Birthing Pod move in unison. They should, but it also does stop a lot of the ramp decks. Not very well, but somewhat slows them down. Now, I took out some of the rares from Dark Ascension, but most of the rares are fairly useless except, you know, I'm talking over time as investments, except for a few. Let's see, you've got Geralf's Messenger. Dungeon Geist was everyone's favorite card coming into Dark Ascension. And you could just see that the price on that is going to fall through the floor. Flare the Unbound. That deck is actually receiving, although it's down, it's of note because a lot of decks are going to be abusing on Burial Rites. Geralf's Messenger is one of the rares to invest in. It's one of the top rares in the set. It's a card that has, you know, you could use in zombie decks or even non-zombie decks. You know, Undying is just that amazing. Ghoul Tree is, well, Ghoul Tree. Grafdigger's Cage is interesting. If they're getting rid of Flashback in Avacyn Restored or whatever, I don't know what the value of Grafdigger's Cage is. If that makes it more valuable because Snapcaster will be one of the only ways of getting back cards, or, you know, I don't know. Because there isn't much in terms of Flashback that really is game-changing. You know, there's no Flashback counterspell or whatnot. Let's see, Hellrider. Well, that's the, you know, the card that's bringing back red deck wins. Increasing Confusion is an interesting card. Now, think about it this way. You're playing a lot of opponents who are trying to get cards out of their deck, right? Especially Blue-Black Control uses this a ton. Blue-Black Control usually mills themselves down on average. By the time they control the game, quote-unquote, they're down to about between 14 and 20 cards in their deck. If you can get one of these off, that's game over. Increasing Devotion was a big card with a lot of people, but, you know, Increasing Devotion, it's okay. It's not fantastic. Increasing Savagery, I saw an Invisible deck Increasing Savagery. Invisible Stalker Increasing Savagery deck. That was rather interesting. And Increasing Vengeance, I'm not quite sure how it works. Not quite sure how it works, I mean if there's a deck that can make it work. Jar of Eyeballs is a little card I like. It gives you just the ability to kind of go through your deck, and it's kind of a better, I like it more than Druidic Satchel. Markov Blade Master, I personally like the vampires, so that's one of the cards I play with, although it's rather weak. You know, Trying to see the other rares worthwhile. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, is an interesting card because in white it's just an anti-Delver card, to be honest. It's saying recording over the cards, that's why I can't see them. You know, Zombie Apocalypse was at the bottom. That was a card that got everyone interested in this set, but to be, it's just crap. I mean, it's not a board sweeper, and if you have a ton of zombies in your graveyard, chances are you're losing the game. And I mean, when it comes to Dark Ascension, you have to think about it this way. It's going to be one of the most valuable sets overall. Because if you look at the other sets that did something akin to this, where they had a massive set and a small set, and now the third set's going to be drafted on its own, I think Dark Ascension is going to be kind of thrown to the side a little, and people almost are going to forget about him. And if you do that, well, what are these cards going to be worth? And I think that since this set's going to be really small, and a lot of people are going to focus on, when it does cycle, I mean, Snapcaster is going to become, the #1 card again. Expect Snapcaster to actually go up in value a lot. Grafdigger's Cage does not stop Snapcaster. I think that also double face cards are cool. The uncommons from this set are pretty cool. Will they live on forever? I seriously doubt it. I think they have too many tokens, and I think that when they made this set, if you've drafted Dark Ascension ISD, it's very difficult. Usually these sets are an add-on to the first set, but Dark Ascension is very difficult to add on to Innistrad. It's almost like there's very little synergy between the two, and I know, there's like captains and whatnot, but this set has a lot of value on its own. It's going to be very overlooked, very underdrafted, and the cards are not going to be easy to come by. So get the main rares, the main mythics, and then work your way up from there. Because Dark Ascension is going to be, it is a good set, but it's going to be underdrafted.